Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Tony, for those who don't know my name. And I'm on the Board of Trustees here in Springfield, Vermont, to welcome you all here today on this beautiful fall day. We're all here to listen, learn, and support one another as a community that welcomes all those who dream of a just and sustainable world. If there's anybody new today, you're welcome to join us after the service for coffee. And we're honored that you're here, and thank you very much for coming, all of you.
No, we don't. This is the season of autumn equinox. The seasonal focus is the harvest is stored. And our morning focus today for Sunday is the angel of earth. Let me use the wisdom of my senses to understand the earth in this season of preparation. For as the earth prepares its life forms, so too shall I prepare. The nature kingdom is my teacher, and I have much to learn. I learn of letting go, my grip on yesterday, and free myself for the wonder of tomorrow's subtle joy. This is a Lakota legend about why the leaves fall. Many moons ago, when the world was still very young, the plant and animal life were enjoying the beautiful summer weather. But as the days went by, autumn set in, and the weather became colder with each passing day. The winds began to brush the skies and river tops, whistling through the mountains and the trees. The grass and flower folk were in a sad condition, for they had no protection from the sharp cold. Just when it seemed that there was no hope for living, Great Spirit, who looks after the things of creation, came to their aid, saying that the leaves of the trees should fall to the ground, spreading a soft, warm blanket over the tender roots of the grass, trees, and flowers. To repay and thank the trees for the loss of their leaves, Great Spirit allowed them one last bright array of beauty. That's why each year during early autumn, the trees take on their pretty farewell colors of red, gold, and brown. After this final display, they turn to their appointed task, covering the earth with a thick rug of warmth against the chill of winter.
Would you join with me in reciting the affirmation of this congregation? Why are we here? Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve the needs of all beings, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with the source of our being. Thank you for saying those words together. And now we will take our offering for the ongoing work of this congregation and food for the Family Center.
Before our meditation, I just wanted to make sure I shared these words. We've been in a pattern of sharing from this book from Deng Dao for each of the 5 elements, and I just want to kind of continue that for metal today. No metal poured from the earth's crucible, from ingot to gold coin to glinting blade. No metal. Thousands of years ago, the ancients poured bronze to create enormous legged vessels, to hold the offerings to the gods, to hold tribute to emperors, and to feed the people. They understood that metal was the culmination, the solid presence of their devotion. They understood that metal was the refinement of the earth, one of Earth's great gifts, and marvelous because it could be refined, smelted, poured into a shape that would accept the hottest fires and yet outlast dynasties, hammered, worked, and polished so that it reflected the sun. There were many metals, each one with properties that never failed, each one potentially a lasting benefit to anyone who knew how to use it. The lesson of alloy was the lesson of community. Metal is beauty. Golden spires, golden coins, golden jewelry. We compare people to metal, sterling character, iron will, steely strength, golden kindness. Metal is the sword, that blade with an edge that tapers to nothingness and a spine that swells to be unbreakable. That edge that parts, that point that thrusts. Mighty is the blade, mighty is the one who wields it. Wise is the one who turns the blade inward to slay delusion. Metal forged into a sword pares away ignorance. That is why it has such a vital place. No metal. So with that, I ask you to notice your seat. Find where you are today. Might be sitting, you might be standing or lying down, whatever's most comfortable for you. And find this solid place. This place that you can claim. As you arrive here, maybe your eyes will close as you grow comfortable, or maybe you'll just sort of soften your gaze into the distance. And then begin to turn your attention to your breath and just notice the breath that you have right now. Try real hard not to change that. Just be accepting of what that breath is like for you right now. And appreciate how that sustains you in your place. And maybe notice how each of the exhales settles you a bit more into this spot. Bring your attention for a moment to each of your hands. And allow yourself to bring your index finger and thumb into a gentle circle with each hand. And you can rest that shape down on your lap with the palms facing down. Have this be comfortable for you, no straining. And see if you can gain a sense of security with the circle you've created in each of your hands. Now, one finger comes up against the other, may find support from each other. Notice if through that there has been any change to your breath. Maybe a slowing or lengthening on that all-important exhale. And maybe as you make the shape of a circle with each of your hands, you start to really notice that circular quality of your breath as well. There's a sense of motion in your breath, a sense of change. A sense that with that exhale, there will be another inhale. Maybe you notice you've settled even more into your space with the breath and attention falling deeper, lower in your body. As you inhale, appreciate that you're taking in what you need to support you. And as you exhale, you're sending out what no longer serves you, what you don't need. And there is space for both. When it feels right for you, go ahead and softly release the shape in your hands. Your body calls out for it. Feel free to circle your wrists or maybe stretch out your fingers a bit. You might still feel the echoes of that shape in your fingers. Allow the shades of your eyes to lift if your eyes were closed. And if you'd softened your gaze, begin to sharpen it a bit and bring it into the room. As you come back into your space, allow your head to swivel maybe from side to side so you can take in the things that surround you in your space, maybe some favorite things if you're at home and if you're here together, the things around the space and the people here that you care about. Singing is one of the nicest and best ways to use our breath and our exhale, which we'll be talking about a little bit more. And it's a beautiful way to move emotion as well. So feel free to continue doing that throughout the service today. So I'm back again today on our, I think, third time to talk about yet another element in the 5 element series. I just always love how the music really fits in with these themes. So I appreciate you and the work that you do for that. So today we'll be talking about metal, if you haven't figured that out yet. So just to serve as a little bit of a reminder why we're here, why we talk about the 5 elements. Might be familiar with the yin and yang symbol. I know it's on our mobile there. I think it's, yep, it's also on the flag and maybe a few other places around here in this building. But you might be familiar with the circle with the black and white, a Taoist symbol that talks about the way energy works together in 2 facets, 2 sides of the same coin. darkness, lightness, how there's a place for both, and how everything has these two qualities to them. So the 5-element series breaks that down even more into, instead of just 2, into 5. So we've already explored the earth element, and we've explored the fire element in summer, and now that it's autumn, it's time to talk about metal, which for me for sure, and for many people, can be a little confusing and a little hard to grasp at first. But I think that the metal element provides so many different aspects to it that you may find something that you grasp right onto and it makes sense for you. So what is it about metal that's important? So metal is really about assimilation, transformation, and elimination. And it helps when we talk about these elements to think in terms of practicality, where metal is in your life and how metal shows these different qualities. First of all, when we talk about the yin and yang symbol or the yin and yang qualities that are around us, this is more of a yin quality. So this has a sense of contracting or turning inward. When we think about autumn, the leaves are falling, it's starting to get a little cold, we're starting to turn inward. We're coming off of fire where we were really exuberant and outside and social, which was a lot of fire and yang energy, and this is turning the other direction. And it can be hard to change direction, and it can be sad. I know that I get sort of sad this time of year. As much as I love to see the leaves fall, we live in a beautiful part of the world for that. I want to hold on to summer. I want to hold on to those warm temperatures and that sort of, all those things that come along with the summer. So turning toward yin. And this time of year, in terms of our physical bodies, is really about the breath. Specifically the lungs and large intestines. When it comes to traditional Chinese medicine, they are the organs of elimination and of moving things out of our body. So we talk about the exhale on our breath, and of course our eliminatory system, very important. Just as we take things in, we need to take out what we don't need. So what else does metal do? Like, you still say, I don't understand this. Metal doesn't make sense, Autumn. Well, metal can be about using your resources and changing things. It's a lot about tools. So some of these elements, you can bring them back in through history, and we think of how important it was to have metal tools to get us to where we are right now. In terms of today, we still might use knives and shovels and things to do work, but we also use computers and technology, which are based in metal. So very important for us to be here and be with the folks at home because of metal. So resources, moving and changing. If you think about, I as a gardener think about shovels and different metal tools in the garden and how that can transform things. If you build anything, we think about hammers, nails, really when you start to think about metal in our lives, it can do a lot for us, and it can transform where we are today to where we can be tomorrow. So I talked about the sadness and the grief and the sense of loss that can happen with this time of year, but metal also has a quality of protection and for setting boundaries. Certainly when we want to put something up that's impenetrable, say a boundary in your home, a door or a gate, you might use metal. And the thing about boundaries is you have the ability to allow something in and to determine when it's the time for that thing to leave as well. So there's a lot to this metal element. And a lot of different kind of paths we can go down to explore it, but that's a little overview. And as I've done so far with earth and fire, I wanted to give you a little bit of a listing of some other places that you might see some of the qualities of metal in this time of year and how and where you might find them. So the shape associated with metal is round. I'd like to, again, we did the round shape in your hands for the meditation. So there's a sense of one thing coming after the next, getting to the next place. Metal tools can help you accomplish something and get to the next place, a sense of movement. The direction for the metal time of year is west for the setting sun. The season, as we talked about, is autumn. It's right now. And again, the energy is contracting. I've been mentioning the livestock that traditional Chinese medicine associates with each of these seasons for us. And this one is the horse. And the horse really has a sense of, I think of the galloping, so definitely movement, but also strength. When we, maybe not now, but when we wanted to build homes and clear roads and things, we used horses to do that type of work. So they're very strong. And probably I could consider a sense of protection there as well. The body part, we talked about breath, and the body part would be your skin and your sinuses. Those are the places that the inside of us contacts the outside of us. So again, that sense of boundaries, and really important this time of year when we talk about coming into cold and flu season, that our boundaries are strong and that we're healthy, our immune system is strong. So you might want to think about like a suit of armor. There's a little image of a suit of armor there. So the hardest part about this time of year and this season and this element is the letting go. And I think that's what makes us sad when we talk about summer and letting summer go for some of us. And it's certainly the sense that happens when we lose somebody that we care about. I and Sharon as well, and my husband lost a very dear neighbor and friend within the last few weeks. Some of you may know her as well, and it was challenging but helpful to put some of this information together and to realize the importance of allowing. When we talk about letting go, when it comes to the element of metal, it's really about non-attachment. And I almost think about like opening your hands and allowing the thing to happen, the person to pass, the season to change. It's not always easy. In every moment, you might not feel that way, but if you can find individual moments of the time where you can feel a bit of acceptance for the passing of a pet, of a season, of a friend, that's sort of what it's all about. And I don't believe that the Taoists think that grief is bad and we shouldn't do it and it should pass. It's really the idea to flow with it and to let it happen when it's there and to acknowledge what's happening. So again, that they're so big on the sense of change and turning, because that is how we go through life. Things change and things turn. So what is so helpful when we are struggling, especially with emotions like this, is to practice, is to contemplate, is to read, meditate, things like that, but also to do some physical practices, because I find those things very helpful. And as an added benefit, you can help boost your immune system this time of year as well with some of these practices. I'm going to try to stop the share. We'll see what happens if I can pop back on. So first of all, we talked about skin and sinuses as being so important for your sense of boundaries this time of year, maybe physical boundaries, but also the immune system boundaries as well. So we want to shore those up before we get right into cold and flu season. So I'd like to bring your attention just to the spot on either side of your nose. You can take your index fingers and just bring your index fingers to the points just outside your nose. You might, if you sort of massage a little bit, maybe little circles right here, you might find a little depression that your index fingers want to settle right into. And if this is kind of feeling interesting or comfortable, you can allow your eyes to close and to stay here for a few moments. But these are 2 points on the large intestine system that are connected with this time of year, the autumn time of year. And these points, there's nicknames in every traditional Chinese medicine acupressure point system. There's always nicknames to help you remember them. This is called welcome fragrance. And the idea is that you're welcoming in a new smell, very obviously, but also any new experience. And to welcome something in, you have to let something out. So that is why the exhale is so important here. This is a really nice point to massage a little bit or bring your attention to if your sinuses feel full, are you feeling a little like you can't smell this time of year. Your sinuses are, some of your sinuses are underneath your fingers right here. So I like to start with this because the idea is I'm going to try these practices and welcome them in and see how they work for me today and for any new experience. Let's go here. You might have 2 dots on the side of your nose. Now that's okay. All right. So really, we talked about sinuses, lungs as well. So there's so many beautiful practices that we can do with the breath. And I always find simple is better. And especially those of you that are seated, you can stay seated. If you really feel like standing up and moving some energy, you can. And same thing at home. Just to start, your first lung point is right where your arms come in contact with your chest. And we're going to come back to palpating here in a moment. But what I really wanted you to try is to bring your hands right in front of that point. And on your next exhale, push your arms away. So this is the simple movement we're going to play around with here for a couple of moments. So on an inhale, bring your arms in. And on your exhale, send this out. So I'm going to let you do this on your pattern, your pacing. You might be faster than me. You might be slower than me. You might notice, as I just seem to do on my own when I do this movement, that on that exhale, you round your back a little bit as you press away. I always want to do that. You might not, but that might be something that comes up to you. And on your inhale, you might straighten up a bit more. And the thing that's interesting about that is our back is our protector. I think I may have mentioned last time that the fronts of our bodies are where all the important stuff is, our face, our reproductive organs, our lungs. We want to keep those safe, our heart. And our back serves to protect that. So there's a sense of protection on that exhale if you happen to round over. And if you don't, that's okay too. But on this exhale, each time, think about clearing out your lungs. You can do this a few times a day. It's a nice movement for your arms and through the chest, but it also helps to kind of reinvigorate that breath. If your breath is feeling a little stale, it's maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon and you're looking for that second cup of coffee, but you really don't need the caffeine, something like this can help. All right, we'll do one more. And then back to center. So some of you did already kind of feel around a little bit here. And I encourage you to maybe start tapping a little bit. So yes, our lungs are actually up this high. It still fascinates me that your lungs really do come up this high in your body. So you can stay right here. You can start to explore a little bit, tapping around your collarbone area. And you can even, as if you're taking a shower, because your lungs come around and under here. You can use more of your hand. You can use a soft fist. All around the top and the center of the body. My voice will get a little funny here. Up underneath. This just might be really interesting. This might be something you don't normally do. Come around in the back even, 2 soft fists. Around in the back. We'll be exploring kidneys next time, but your lungs are up high too here, and you can go up over your shoulders. I kind of think of this as like, hello, what's going on inside my lungs? Does it feel clear? Does it feel full? Are you finding things you didn't even know existed? You know, we move through our body, move through our day, and the center of our body we don't do very much with, right? We swing our arms and move our legs, but we don't do much with the centers of our bodies. So how does this feel? And then you can pause. And you might feel, again, the echoes of your hands on these parts of your body, maybe noticing a little more sensation where you didn't have sensation before. And I encourage you to fill this space a little bit more than you did before. So maybe your inhales are a little bit fuller. And your exhales are a little bit more complete. Finally, to settle some of that energy, you want to settle before we kind of go on here. Two hands, you can bring your hands just underneath your collarbones here. I'm wearing a necklace too. Just underneath the tips of your collarbones here. Might find a little depression. You can rest the tips of your fingers here. There are all kinds of kidney and lung points on your chest that are all helpful to support the health of the organ of your lungs, if that makes sense. So as your hands are there, allow your hands to kind of ride your breath as you're inhaling and exhaling. Again, this serves to settle your energy, but if you're getting curious or want to explore a little bit more, you can allow your fingers to find the spaces between the ribs that are underneath this space as well, maybe with little circles. And these are areas we don't tend to get into. We don't tend to explore very much, so they may feel a little sticky or a little just interesting because you've not been here before. And then when you feel like you've done enough exploration, a nice final thing to do is one hand on your sternum, that place in the center that splits your two sets of the two sides of your rib cage. One hand can rest on top of it as well. If you like to close your eyes or soften your gaze, feel free to do that. And allowing your lungs to support you through this time of year, that your immune system will be strong, and that you'll be able and ready to let go of what you need to when the time comes. I'm going to start the share again. So just some simple practices to get you through a challenging time or even through every day. Those are really helpful. I wanted to share just a few more things for you to keep connecting with your metal element this time of year. Always the breath, noticing how your breath is moving through you. And I like that it's so easy to remember. LSD, long breath, slow or smooth breath, and then the sense of a deep breath. And a lot of times we hear deep breath and we think like we have to just make this big movement and it needs to take a lot. That's really not what it's about. It's about having the breath be low in your body. We explored that, some of that when we were doing the hand position. It's dropping your energy down low into your belly and down into your pelvis. And that will really allow the breath to be much more full and expansive, but in an internal way. So without, this big movement of your upper body, your breath is doing more for you, and it's not a show for anybody else. So think about that when you're breathing this time of year. Washing your hands with cool water. We talked a lot about washing hands during COVID and how important that was. But the hands have a particular barrier in traditional Chinese medicine. It is a place where we can protect our immune system, but it's also where our greatest healing power is. So anybody who does any kind of work with their hands, or even creates art or makes construction, we do so much with our hands. And these are the places where our power and our spirit are. So keeping this place clean and cooled this time of year. I know that might not make sense because it can be cold here, but nice cool water can sort of clear the energy and make you ready for what's next. Hopefully not a cold, but what is next in your life. And again, that's why that benefit of it, taking care of your immune system with a little bit of soap helps as well. And then finally, honoring your boundaries. And then this one can be challenging for a lot of us, especially, we work together as community and we have to protect what works for us and also take care of the other person as well. So a lot of open communication and maybe even understanding where your boundaries are in a particular situation can be very helpful. Wonderful way to connect with that idea of metal. So that's it. Did anybody have any questions on any of the practices? Does it make sense that it's metal? A little more, maybe. A lot of other cultures use air as or ether, you might hear of it called for this time of year. So it's a little different with it being metal and being something so I don't know, and in a way it almost looks like it's kind of harsh at first, but I think when you understand the refinement and the protection idea of metal, it can be really helpful. Thank you.
Our closing song is To Everything There Is a Season, and the words will be up on the screen. So please sing along with us. And I just want to point out that it's a steel string guitar and a metal penny whistle accompanying us.
To everything there is a season, there is a time for all these things, a time to plant and a time to reap, a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance. To everything there is a season, there is a time for all these things. A time to follow, a time to lead, a time to speak and a time to heed, a time to sleep and a time to wake, a time to give and a time to take. Through all our days and all our ways, we walk in hope that we might gain the time to live and the time to share, the time to love and the time to care.
Sorrow prepares you for joy. It violently sweeps everything out of your house so that new joy can find space to enter. It shakes the yellow leaves from the bough of your heart so that fresh green leaves can grow in their place. It pulls up the rotten roots so that new roots hidden beneath have room to grow. Whatever sorrow shapes from your heart, far better things will take their place.